I was halfway through a lukewarm lunch and an even colder marketing brief when my phone lit up. Unknown number. Normally, I'd let it die in voicemail limbo. But something about it, maybe the twitchy way it buzzed on my desk, got under my skin. Ethan Miller's voice was sharp-clipped. "This is Sandra from Liberty National Bank," I blinked. "Okay. You're listed as the primary borrower on a $523,000 mortgage. It's 3 months overdue." I laughed, the kind of dry, brittle laugh that comes from disbelief. "You've got the wrong guy. I don't even own a decent sofa, let alone a house." She didn't laugh back. "Social Security number ending in 7712, born March 11th. My stomach tightened. Yeah, I swear the room got smaller. My shitty little Newark apartment, all peeling linoleum and windows that didn't quite close, suddenly felt like a cage. 3 years ago, I was broke fresh out of grad school scrambling. And then I remembered Tyler, my younger brother, and his dream of a suburban fortress in Montclair. He'd talked about it at a barbecue, eyes gleaming like he was already sitting in his granite kitchen sipping craft coffee. Back then, I figured Dad and Deb, our mom, might have helped Frank. Our dad always called him the visionary. I was the steady one, the one who didn't need handouts. But apparently, I made a hell of a co-signer. I ended the call with Sandra. Told her I'd check into it. Then I just sat there. My ceiling creaked with the sound of my upstairs neighbor's dog pacing. Somewhere outside, a car honked like it was angry with the world. But inside me, dead quiet, just one thought spinning like a broken record. If this wasn't a mistake, someone I trusted had stolen my name. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on my back, tracing the cracks in my ceiling like they might spell out an answer. By morning, my Newark apartment felt less like home and more like a holding cell. The radiator clicked to life around dawn. It never worked right. Just hissed like it was trying to warn me. I made coffee, I didn't drink, and opened my laptop. First search, mortgage fraud. Second, identity theft by family member. Each headline hit like a slap, words like felony, and forgery blinked back at me. I needed proof, something real to shove through the fog in my head. I called Liberty National again. Sandra sounded like someone who'd seen too many disasters to flinch. "I can email you the documents," she said, polite but mechanical. When the PDF arrived, I didn't open it right away. I stared at the subject line, "Mortgage File Miller," like it might explode. And when I did click in, there it was. My full name, date of birth, social typed cleanly across pages I'd never seen. And the signature mine only. It wasn't. The loops were too even. The rhythm too practiced. I've been signing forms for years. Rent, contracts, job paperwork. I don't loop my M like that. And the E always slants left. Always has. This was a forgery, but not a lazy one. Someone had studied me. I kept scrolling. Property, a house in Montclair, 3-bedroom, glass-paneled backyard with a koi pond. Tyler's house. His vision board made flesh. I stood up so fast, my chair scraped the floor. My pulse was in my ears. My chest burned with something I hadn't named yet. Not just anger, something deeper. The kind of heat betrayal leaves behind when it settles in your bones. I tore through every drawer, every shoebox I'd shoved under the bed, tax returns, credit statements, pay stubs, all clean. Then I pulled my credit report. There it was. The mortgage dragging my score like an anchor. I started printing everything: loan documents, my ID screenshots from Tyler's housewarming email. His smug text, "You've got to see the backyard, man. I've finally made it." I remember that night, I'd brought a cheap bottle of Cabernet. Everyone else showed up with gifts from crate and barrel. Deb said Tyler deserved it all. He's worked so hard. Apparently, I had too. Just in silence. While someone else collected the rewards. By sunset, my living room was a paper storm. I didn't know what I was building yet. A case, a wall, a weapon. But I knew this. They took something from me, and I wasn't letting them keep it. Sunday came dressed in gold and quiet. I hated how peaceful it looked outside. Like the world didn't know what was about to crack open. I drove with the windows cracked and the cool air clawing at my nerves. Newark's grit gave way to Montclair's manicured, quiet rows of trees lined the streets like they belonged in a brochure, not in my reality. Their house looked just like I remembered, too big, too clean, like it was trying to impress the neighbors more than shelter a family. My fingers flexed on the steering wheel. In the back seat, the folder sat heavy documents stacked like bricks. But I didn't bring them inside. Not yet. This wasn't about paperwork. This was about looking them in the eye. Deborah opened the door like nothing had changed. "Ethan, you look tired. Are you eating enough?" Frank shouted something from the kitchen. Tyler didn't even glance up from his phone on the couch. I stepped into the dining room, and it was déjà vu wrapped in denial. Roast chicken, rosemary bread. Same wine glasses they break out when they want to feel fancy. It should have felt warm. It didn't. We sat, talked. Or rather, they talked. Tyler griped about his neighbor's dog ruining his lawn. Deborah smiled too much. Frank grunted and carved the meat like the conversation didn't require him. I chewed, swallowed, waited. Halfway through dessert, apple pie store bought despite Deb's insistence it was homemade. I set down my fork. I got a call from the bank. It wasn't a threat, just a statement. Still the air changed. Forks paused midair. Deb laughed too fast. A mix-up. I'm sure Tyler didn't laugh. His thumbs froze over his screen. They said I owe $500,000. For a house I looked at, Frank, that house. Frank stared at his pie like it might defend him. Deb adjusted her necklace. "Ethan, we just needed a little help to qualify. You weren't going to pay anything, it's just a formality." Tyler finally looked up. "Dude, you've got good credit. It's not a big deal. Chill." I leaned back. Let the silence sharpen. A formality I repeated like I was testing the weight of the word, right? Not a big deal. No one apologized. No one looked sorry. They looked caught. And even then they didn't blink. I nodded slowly. "Got it." Deb's face softened. She thought I was folding. She didn't know I'd already seen a lawyer. The drive back to Newark was a blur. I don't remember traffic lights or exit signs, just street lights smearing across my windshield, and the buzzing replay of their words. Just a formality. You've got good credit. You weren't going to pay. They weren't sorry because they didn't think they'd done anything wrong. To them, my identity was family property, my name an asset to be borrowed, my stability a spare tire for their golden child's dreams. But I wasn't the Ethan they'd always leaned on anymore. Monday morning was gray. I called in sick. No explanation, just a flat. Not coming in today. Then I drove, not to a courthouse, not yet to a coffee shop on Ferry Street, sandwiched between a laundromat and a discount furniture place. The kind of place that smelled like espresso and wet wool where secrets didn't echo. She arrived at 9:00 sharp. Laura Finch, my attorney gray suit, sharper eyes. She looked through the documents I laid out, page by page, nodding slowly. "This is identity theft," she said like she was diagnosing a disease. "Classic case. You've got signatures, dates, motive. It's airtight." I nodded. My mouth was dry. What next? "Police report credit bureau dispute." Then we start pressuring the bank, but she tapped a finger on the PDF with Tyler's fake signature. "And yes, this will go public, maybe even messy." She looked up. "Are you ready for what this'll do to them?" I paused, thought of Deb's pie, Tyler's silence, Frank's refusal to meet my eye. "I'm not the one who tore this apart." I said, "I'm just done taping it back together." She gave a nod, respectful, almost proud. Outside, the cold hit harder than I expected, but my steps felt clean. I focused. I drove straight to the precinct, walked past flickering fluorescents and bored-looking clerks until I found the right desk. Officer Delgado flipped through my file, his brows climbing higher with every page. "Your own family," he muttered. I didn't flinch. They made their choice. He stamped the report, handed me a copy. I held it like it was a key. Then I mailed Laura's dispute letter at a post office 2 blocks away. Certified mail return receipt. The envelope felt like a grenade. And just like that, it was out of my hands. The knock came on a Thursday. Sharp, angry. No hesitation, I knew it was coming. The bank's investigation was underway. My dispute letter had gone through, and Laura said they'd be contacting the co-signers, aka my lovely family. Still, when I peeked through the peephole and saw Deborah, hair-soaked fists clenched, I felt a chill. Despite the heating finally working in my apartment, I opened the door, didn't invite her in. "You called the police on us," she hissed. I didn't answer. "You're tearing this family apart." Her voice cracked, not from sorrow, but from indignation, like I had done something shameful. Not Tyler forging my name, not her and Frank pretending it was okay. "You tore it apart the second you signed my name without asking," I said, calm, cold, like Laura taught me. She blinked, looking for a trace of the boys she could manipulate. "We're family, Ethan." "No," I said. "You made a decision, and I'm making mine." Her lips trembled. She looked like she was going to say something else, but she didn't. I closed the door, quietly, no slamming, just a click that felt heavier than a scream. That night, the voicemails came like clockwork. Tyler's voice, frantic. "Bro, come on, why would you do this? This is going to ruin everything. You're being dramatic. You always had a problem with me. Just admit it." I didn't reply. I deleted every message. The silence after felt like stepping into fresh snow, clean, untouched mine. A week later, the bank sent a letter they'd suspended the mortgage during the investigation. The phrase, "potential fraudulent signature," was underlined. Beneath it, an apology that sounded like it had been passed through 5 lawyers before reaching me. I didn't care. It was validation. Laura followed up with an affidavit draft. I signed it, my pen steady this time. No mimicry, just truth. I started sleeping again, sort of not full nights, but there were mornings I woke without a knot in my chest. The quiet wasn't empty anymore. It was space. I filled it. I signed up for a woodworking class at a local studio near Broad Street. Something about shaping something real, something solid, calmed the noise in my head. I built a box from cedar. Nothing fancy, just clean-lined sanded edges, a simple groove on the lid. But it was mine. No one else touched it, no one else's name. Sometimes, I just sat on my balcony with chamomile tea in hand, watching Newark's skyline blink quietly against the night. I thought about who I used to be. Ethan, the dependable, the fixer, the good son. That guy was gone, and I didn't miss him. A month passed. Then one afternoon, I got back from a craft fair and nearly dropped the cedar cutting board I'd bought, because there they were. Deborah, Frank, Tyler, standing outside my building like ghosts who didn't realize they were dead to me. Tyler looked wrecked. Hair uncombed, sleeves, rumpled eyes red. Deborah's scarf hung loose, wind-blown and sloppy. Frank stared at the sidewalk, hands buried in his coat, like he was trying to disappear inside it. I didn't say anything. I just stared. Deb spoke first, her voice brittle. "We're family. We messed up. But you can't walk away from us forever." Tyler stepped forward, desperation bleeding through every word. "Ethan, please. I'm losing the house. Everything's collapsing. Just help me. One more time." Frank remained silent. Classic Frank. I looked at them not like a son or brother, but like a man who'd finally stepped outside the roles they shoved him into. They weren't family. Not anymore. They were people who'd used me. I set the cutting board down on the sidewalk. Thud, not loud but final. "Family doesn't build lies and call them favors," I said. "I hope someday you figure that out." Deb's eyes watered. Her mouth moved, forming a protest that never quite made it out. But I wasn't finished. "I'm done carrying what you won't. I'm free." Tyler's lip trembled. Frank's shoulders sank deeper into his coat. And me, I picked up my board, walked past them, didn't look back. Their presence faded like smoke in the wind. The city resumed its rhythm. Cars honking faintly, a bus hissing to a stop, and the moment didn't explode. It dissolved. That was enough. When I climbed the stairs to my apartment, each step felt like shedding something I didn't want anymore. The weight of them, of being the dependable one, the forgiving one, the silent one, weeks passed like held breath. My phone, once buzzing with family group texts and backhanded updates about Tyler's latest endeavor, stayed silent. No guilt-laced messages, no calls masked as check-ins, just absence. At first it stung. The kind of ache you don't notice until you're alone in your apartment with the heat humming and nothing but your own thoughts for company. I kept replaying everything, the call from Sandra, the dinner. Deborah's face at my door, Tyler's voice breaking in the cold. I'd lost something. But the question was, had I ever really had it? I stopped looking at my phone by habit. Stopped wondering if Frank would finally speak up or if Tyler would send some last-ditch, you've made your point kind of message. He didn't. And that, in a way, was an answer. But slowly, the sting dulled, became space. And in that space, I started building something real. My mornings weren't dictated by dread anymore. I made coffee that didn't taste like burnt cardboard. I played jazz on my kitchen speaker. I jogged along Branch Brook Park when the air was still sharp and quiet. Newark's skyline so often the backdrop to tension started feeling like mine again. I kept going to woodworking class. The studio smelled like sawdust and citrus cleaner, and everyone there minded their own business, which was exactly what I needed. I didn't have to explain anything. I could just exist, create. The second box I made was walnut clean grain. I carved a small ridge across the lid, something imperfect on purpose. I didn't want it to look store-bought. I wanted it to look honest. Laura emailed me updates every week or so. The bank was leaning toward declaring the mortgage fraudulent. They'd suspended further penalties and removed the mark from my credit report pending resolution formal language. But to me, it felt like oxygen. I wasn't just repairing my credit, I was reclaiming my name. One afternoon, I sat on my balcony with a chipped mug of tea, the city's hum pulsing beneath me. Sunlight caught the edge of the cedar box on my table, and for a second I thought about what it meant to be free. Not loud, not vindictive, just detached. That was the thing no one ever tells you about letting go. It's not always cinematic. Sometimes it's just waking up and realizing you haven't thought about them all morning, or buying honey at the farmer's market and laughing when it tastes like summer. It's freedom measured in absence, not fireworks. I stopped needing closure. I didn't want apologies wrapped in excuses or tears that came only when their world cracked. They'd chosen Tyler over me for years. They just finally made it official. And when the mask slipped, I didn't look away. I stood there and watched. And then I left. One October afternoon, I came back from the local craft fair, a warm cedar board in hand, the kind you run your palm over just to feel the grain. I turned the corner to my building and saw the street was empty. No parents, no brother, no confrontations, just me. And that felt right. I paused before going inside, listening to the soft wind ripple through the trees. In the distance, a kid was laughing. Someone's radio was playing something old and scratchy. Life moving on. And not once did I reach for my phone to tell someone. There was no one I needed to tell. No one whose approval I wanted. That night, I sanded the walnut box again, not because it needed it, but because I wanted to feel the wood breathe beneath my fingers. I thought of every decision I'd made in the last few months. Every step away from the person they expected. Every inch reclaimed. And when I set the finished box on my shelf, plain imperfect mine, it didn't feel like an end. It felt like the beginning of something clean, something untouched, something that belonged finally to me. Story 2. You know how people say your life can change in an instant. I used to think that was melodramatic. Turns out, it's painfully accurate. For me, it was a Tuesday. Just a regular nothing special Tuesday, until my world cracked open in the Costco parking lot. My name's Aaron, I'm 41, and until that day I thought I had a decent grip on my life. I'm a data analyst for a medical software company, not flashy, but solid. My wife Eliza, 38, worked freelance in digital design. We'd been married 12 years. Mortgage, mutual bank accounts, Taco Tuesdays. All the domestic milestones you'd expect from a couple deep in the game. That day, I left work early. Because our network crashed, IT told everyone to pack it in while they patched the system. With a free afternoon in hand, I did the most thrilling thing imaginable, ran errands, Costco run, paper towels, oat milk, dog treats. I even remembered Eliza's favorite trail mix. It's the one she hides in the freezer, like it's contraband. I parked, pulled out my phone, and tapped the Bluetooth button to finish a podcast, except it connected to Eliza's SUV, which made zero sense. She was supposed to be across town at her weekly book club, I blinked. Maybe it was a glitch. Maybe she'd forgotten to shut the system off. Downs. And then I heard her voice, clear as if she was in the passenger seat. Eliza laughed, this warm, unguarded kind of laugh I hadn't heard in a while. After he hands over the house for that tax credit loophole, she said, "We'll have it all. The place, the equity, everything. We'll be done with the idiot." That idiot being me. Then came the other voice. Male, confident, familiar. Ethan, my best friend since college, my best man, my fishing buddy. The guy who knew every detail about my life, Ethan. They laughed together. Comfortable, intimate. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't drunk banter. It was a plan. Eliza thinks I'm in Denver for that UX convention. He said I told him the same lie last time, and he bought it. He always buys it. They were laughing about me, mocking my trust. Plotting to take the house, I worked 2 jobs to help afford during those early years. I froze. My thumb hovered over my phone like it was a detonator. I couldn't move, couldn't think. The noise of the parking lot faded into the background. My throat went dry. And then she said the part that snapped everything into focus. A couple more months tops. His accountant even suggested putting the house in my name. I just played dumb. Ethan chuckled. He doesn't understand anything about taxes or us. I disconnected the Bluetooth. Silence hit harder than their words. I sat there for, I don't know how long. Long enough for the hot anger to cool into something sharper. Quieter, a calm kind of fury that doesn't explode. It builds right there in the Costco lot, surrounded by carts and half-empty coffee cups. I started building a new version of myself. Not the husband, not the fool. Not the idiot with blind trust. No, something colder. I drove home, but I barely remember the road. I walked inside like a ghost, like someone else entirely. Eliza was still out. I sat at the kitchen table, stared at the untouched to-do list on the fridge, then opened my laptop. That was the moment the game changed. Step 1, don't confront her. Step 2, gather evidence. Step 3, watch everything. Step 4, pretend everything is normal. When Eliza finally came home that night, she looked the same. Red cheeks from a few too many drinks wine on her breath, her laugh still echoing in my ears. Book club ran long, she said, kicking off her boots. Oh yeah, I smiled like I hadn't just heard her script crumble. Pizza's in the fridge. For a moment, I saw hesitation in her face. Like maybe she expected something to blow up. But I didn't give her that. Not a twitch. I kissed her cheek. You missed a wild twist in the show, I said. And just like that, the trap began to close. The next morning, I woke up with the same headache you get after sleeping next to a ticking time bomb. She asked if I could pick up her dry cleaning on my way home. I smiled, said sure, then walked into the bathroom and vomited. That became my new ritual, smile numb repeat. I bought a burner phone that afternoon, activated a fresh Proton Mail account, and started recording everything. Every chat, every receipt, every login. I started tracking our finances. She didn't even notice. Why would she? I was still baking banana bread on weekends and asking how her clients were doing. And here's the kicker, I played along with the house plan. Brought it up over coffee. Hey, I said casually, saw this post about how freelancers can get some sweet tax perks if property's in their name. She practically glowed. Oh yeah, my accountant mentioned that too. Of course she did. A few days later, I found her hidden savings account tucked behind a folder named Design Templates on her laptop. Neatly labeled Subfolder Wellness Goals. Inside, a private account with nearly $42,000 skimming small amounts off our joint fund. Years of methodical theft. I snapped screenshots, stored backups, then kept making her breakfast like I didn't know she was siphoning us dry. It didn't stop there. I found their emails. Password was her dog's name. The one I rescued, by the way, classic. There were hundreds of exchanges, coded flirtation vacation photos, even a calendar invite for final transfer day. They had a literal Google Doc titled Freedom Plan Bullet Pointed. I brought all of it to my new lawyer, Juliet. who I found through a Reddit legal advice thread. She didn't flinch. "You want to play this smart," she said. "Play quiet. Pretend you're the same fool she thinks you are and document everything." And so I did. For weeks, I played husband of the year, brushed her hair off her shoulder when she looked tired, took selfies with her for Instagram, fixed the busted dishwasher. Meanwhile, I scanned receipts, traced money matched her location data from our phone plan to hotel addresses. I started calling it Operation Final Smile. I'll be honest, some nights I questioned if I was losing it. She'd make a dumb joke and I'd laugh like we were still in love. Sometimes I'd forget for a few seconds. Then she'd kiss me with the same mouth that whispered lies into Ethan's ear. That'd pull me back fast. By day 57, I had everything I needed: evidence timeline, digital archive. Eliza even started dropping hints about after the transfer, like we were discussing retirement plans. And Ethan. Oh, Ethan was smooth. He texted me fantasy league tips while probably sipping wine in my bed. I played along, sent him a meme. Even invited him to a guy's weekend I had zero intention of attending. By day 72, I'd boxed up my valuables and moved them to a storage unit. She helped me pack, called it a spring cleaning vibe. She even tossed in one of her old sweaters. I smiled, labeled the box kitchenware. Made a mental note to scan the sweater for her scent later, just to document where she'd been when the alibi crumbled. This was a chess game, and I was done playing checkers. Day 73. At this point, pretending felt like second nature. Smile, nod, mumble something about work stress. Kiss her forehead like I hadn't mapped out the exact moment she'd fall. I wasn't just playing dumb anymore. I was dumb in her eyes. That was my best weapon. By now, I'd gotten so good at lying with my face that I didn't recognize myself in the mirror. But every night when Eliza curled up next to me, completely unaware, I'd spent the day moving cash to a secure account and tagging hotel stays from her GPS log. I remembered exactly why I was doing this. Ethan texted me that week, asking if I wanted to plan a celebration trip to his family's lake house. Said we could toast to the house transfer. The irony made me laugh out loud in the kitchen. "Something funny," Eliza called from the other room. "Just a meme," I said. Every day she got bolder, started mentioning how freeing the new chapter would be. She even floated the idea of renting out the guest room after we settled things. Settled what exactly? I didn't ask. I smiled, poured her a glass of wine, and tucked that comment into my mental vault. By day 77, I had everything backed up. Triple copies, one encrypted drive, one cloud account, one physical flash drive in the lining of my winter coat. I kept my daily routine: coffee by 7:30, gym at 5, dinner by 8. But behind that schedule was a slow leak of my life, slipping into storage boxes, my childhood photo albums, my mom's letters, my passport, birth certificate. The important stuff vanished piece by piece while she focused on candle shopping and Spotify playlists with Ethan. They actually had a playlist together. For us, I found it on an old iPad she didn't bother to reset. A digital love letter of songs about freedom, passion, and fresh starts. Fresh starts with the man she was screwing while I folded laundry downstairs. I was a ghost in my own house, and still I smiled. Day 81, I found the smoking gun. A document called Future Finances, hidden in a Google Drive folder, nested behind layers of folders labeled with garbage titles like 2020 receipts and inspo shots. It was a full breakdown of how they'd split the money after our amicable split. They referred to me as the obstacle, not a person, just a hurdle. There was a projection sheet how much they'd make off the sale of the house if I signed it over, which accounts they'd move, which debts they'd pin on me. There was even a checklist titled After Aaron. The bile hit my throat so fast I had to sit down. This wasn't a fling. This wasn't weakness or lust. This was cold, planned, long-term. I wasn't a mistake, I was a mark. Day 85. She brought home new life insurance paperwork. Said it was just to be safe with all the changes coming. I took it from her with a smile, spilled coffee on it. An hour later, oops. She rolled her eyes and told me I needed to be more careful. I wanted to say you first, but I kept quiet. I was weeks away from the finish line. Day 88. I snapped a photo of her Apple Watch. It lit up while she was in the shower. "Ethan, miss, you all ready?" I stared at it for a good 5 minutes. Not because it was new, it wasn't, but because it was routine. They weren't even scared anymore. That kind of arrogance always comes before a fall. Day 90. I ran into her sister Mira at the grocery store. We used to be close. She barely looked at me, gave me this tight, guilty smile, and walked off with her frozen peas in silence. I didn't need confirmation. Eliza was laying groundwork. I was becoming the villain, the inattentive husband. The reason she had to leave, she was rewriting the story before it ended. She thought she'd get to control the credits, too. Day 91. Juliet, my lawyer, met me after work. We did a final walkthrough of the documents, divorce filing account, freezing motions, asset protections, all prepped, all clean. I'd been documenting everything so carefully that it read like a case study. You ready, she asked. I nodded almost. Day 93. I left the last box at a friend's place. Mason jar of old guitar picks a sweatshirt from my dad, an unopened bottle of bourbon. I was saving for our 10th anniversary. I gave it to my buddy Chris instead. Told him he'd earned it. He didn't know the whole story, but he knew enough to say, "You sure?" Yeah, I said, I'm sure. Day 94. Eliza suggested a nice dinner just because she put on the silver hoops I bought her in San Diego, the same trip where she took secret bathroom breaks to message Ethan. She laughed at my jokes that night, actually laughed. Back at home, she reached for me. First time in months. I didn't flinch. I went through the motions like a man playing a role he'd already auditioned for. When she fell asleep next to me, whispering about how tomorrow was our fresh start, I lay there wide awake, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow wasn't the beginning. It was the end. Day 95. I woke up before the alarm, 5:00 a.m., made coffee. Took a long, quiet shower, looked around the kitchen one last time. The tile I installed, the fridge we fought over, the window we dreamed of replacing. All of it stayed. I didn't need to take it with me. I just needed to leave it. At 7:30, her alarm went off. She padded out in her robe, yawning, kissed my cheek. Don't forget 2:00 appointment with a financial advisor. Wouldn't miss it, I said. She smiled big, genuine, like she'd already won. By 9:15, she was gone. I watched her taillights disappear down the street. Then I moved. 9:40, signed the last documents at Juliet's office. 11:15. Finalized the email to our families and closest friends, simple. Calm attached the receipts, literal and figurative, subject to change in my life. Body. Eliza and I are divorcing. I've discovered she's been having a long-term affair with Ethan. The attached documents will clarify why I've made this choice. Please respect my privacy moving forward. Attachments, screenshots, timeline, the Freedom Plan, 1210. Transferred exactly 50% of our joint savings into her personal account. Left a note on the transaction. Your share goodbye. 1:00 p.m. Called her parents. I kept it short. Her dad sighed. Her mom cried. 1:45 final text to Eliza. There's no meeting, no transfer, no next chapter with me. I know about you and Ethan. I've known for 95 days. Everything has already been filed. The evidence is secured. The documents are served. Don't contact me. Blocked her number. Blocked Ethan, turned off my phone. I spent the evening drinking cheap beer with Chris, watching reruns of Parks and Rec. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I laughed at dumb sitcom jokes while the messages poured in, unheard. At 8:47 p.m., I powered my phone back on. 36 missed calls, 15 voicemails, dozens of texts. First rage, then confusion, then panic, finally apologies. From both of them. I didn't respond. Not to her, not to him, just to my mom. Yes, I'm okay. And Juliet, yes, everything landed smoothly. That night, I slept in a twin bed in my friend's guest room and exhaled for the first time in months the morning after it all hit. I woke up to silence. Not the heavy kind, not the sort that crushes your chest. This was lighter, open like air, finally filling a house that had been boarded shut. I stretched my arms and sat on the edge of the bed. The twin mattress creaked under me. Chris had left a note in the kitchen beside a mug of coffee. Proud of you, man. Take all the time you need. That kind of thing sticks with you. I took a walk that morning, hoodie up, just me and the wind. I didn't think about her or him or the house. I just listened. Wind through the trees, crows calling in the distance. dry leaves tumbling down the sidewalk. People think revenge feels like fire. But when it's done right, it feels like wind. It moves through you, past you, cleans the smoke. Later that day, I finally opened her last message. Just one word. Please. I didn't reply. She already got her answer. In the weeks that followed, the fallout spread like cracks on glass. Mutual friends took sides. Some messaged me in private, telling me they always thought something felt off. Others stayed quiet. A few blocked me altogether. Guess Eliza moved fast with the narrative. I didn't care. I wasn't trying to win anyone over. Mira, her sister, actually reached out 2 weeks later. She sent a long, awkward apology, said she hadn't known the full story, said she should have asked more questions. I told her the truth. You don't owe me anything, but I appreciate the message. No bridges burned, just distance, clean and clear. One day, I bumped into Ethan at the hardware store. Total accident. I was picking up a hammer. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. I didn't stop walking, just looked him dead in the eye and said, "You were supposed to be my brother." He opened his mouth probably to throw excuses or half-truths. I didn't wait, just kept walking. Past the checkout, out the door. Didn't look back. The divorce finalized smoothly. She didn't contest anything. Not the assets, not the timeline, not the receipts. Probably because she knew if she pushed, I'd go public with everything I had, all the ammo. And unlike them, I didn't bluff. I gave her what was fair. Not what was owed, but fair. I walked away lighter, and she walked away knowing she didn't break me. That, I think, was the part she didn't expect. I moved into a quiet apartment just outside the city. Nothing fancy, just 2 rooms, tall windows, and quiet mornings. I planted basil on the windowsill. Bought myself a used couch that didn't sag, painted the walls a soft gray, started cooking again just for me. I read books I'd forgotten I owned. I'd catch myself reaching for my phone sometimes, not out of habit, just curiosity, wondering if she'd tried again, but I never reopened that door. Then came the coffee mug. Found it while unpacking the last box. It was chipped, faded, and hers said, "Work hard, slay," softly in pink letters. She used to say it was her good luck charm. I wrapped it in old newspaper. Dropped it in a box, no note, no return address. Just her name and her new place. That wasn't revenge. That was closure. It never belonged in my cabinet. I started therapy. Best decision I made. First session, I sat there staring at the floor. Told the counselor everything, the Bluetooth, the recordings, the lists, the silence. He just nodded. At the end, he said something that stuck. "You didn't break. You planned your exit like a man lighting his own lantern. That's not revenge, that's reclamation." Damn right it was. Now I sleep through the night. I go days without thinking about either of them. The rage is gone. The bitterness, too. What's left is something quieter, wiser, sharper. I don't love harder now, I love smarter. I ask questions, I listen more. And I don't explain myself to people who already decided what they want to believe. I've had a few dates. One woman I met through a mutual hiking group. She has this way of laughing with her whole chest, no secrets behind her eyes. I haven't told her the full story yet, maybe someday. But for now, I just like the quiet. The trail, the trees, the wind. My own damn breath in my lungs. I still keep the old flash drive, not because I want revenge, but because the man I used to be deserves to know I didn't let them win. He stayed kind, stayed honest, kept his head down while they made their plans, and then, when it counted, he walked out without burning the house. He took the lantern instead. Story 3. You don't expect to overhear your future spouse planning to rob you blind. Not when she's curled up on your couch drinking wine with friends. Not when she thinks you're asleep in the next room. But I did, and it changed everything. 3 weeks ago, I was planning to get married. I'd been with my fiancée Rachel for 3 years. We met at a friend's backyard cookout. I almost didn't go, was wiped from a double shift. But I showed up late, tossed a few burgers on the grill, and somehow left with her number. She was 30. Funny confident, had this way of drawing people into her orbit without trying. I was hooked from day one. We moved in together a year later, small 2-bedroom in a part of town that still had character, leaky faucets, creaky floors, neighbors who played classic rock too loud. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. She painted the kitchen yellow. I built the bookshelves. We picked out cheap but cozy furniture together and framed a photo from our weekend in Savannah. I thought it was real. Like we were actually building a life. A year ago, I bought the ring, spent 3 months of pay on it. Rachel liked princess-cut white gold. I made sure it was perfect. I proposed under the big tree in her mom's backyard, same place her parents got married. She cried. I cried. We celebrated, posted the photos, fielded dozens of congratulations texts. It was the happiest day of my life, or so I thought. A few months ago, I got a raise. I work in logistics, solid job, nothing flashy. But the bump in pay finally gave me breathing room. I started thinking seriously about buying a house. Rachel didn't exactly celebrate the way I'd hoped. She started nitpicking everything, said the apartment wasn't suitable anymore. My 2013 Honda Civic. Too humble for a husband, she talked about upgrading our life fast. Better clothes, fancier places. She compared our wedding plans to her friend Lauren's, who apparently had a live violinist and a chocolate fountain. I thought she was just caught up in the stress. I didn't argue much. I wanted her to be happy. That's what partners do, right? I took extra shifts, put my savings toward things. She said we needed a pricier venue. Engraved invitations, a DJ who charged by the hour. Whenever I hesitated, she reminded me, it's our one special day. We can't look cheap. I nodded, smiled, swallowed my concerns. Then came that night. It was a Saturday. Rachel was hosting a girls' night with her friends. Wine, snacks, gossip. I was dead tired from work. So I crashed early on the couch with a blanket and some old Seinfeld reruns, humming low on the TV. They were in the kitchen, about 15 feet away. I wasn't asleep, just zoning out, half scrolling Reddit, half listening. And then I heard my name. Rachel's voice dropped an octave. Her tone shifted, less bubbly, more sharp. I stayed still. Didn't breathe. She doesn't even know I'm awake. I remember thinking, just stay quiet. She was talking about money, my savings, my investments. As soon as I get access to the accounts, she said I'll be gone within a month. There was laughter. Not nervous, not uncertain, cold, careless. I'm bored, she said. He's nice, but so basic. Once the money hits, I'm out. My stomach turned. Her friend Sarah asked something about the apartment. Rachel said he'll keep it. There's no penalty as long as someone stays on the lease. He'll be stuck with rent and no cash. More laughter. I felt frozen, angry, sick. Mostly stupid. I wanted to sit up, scream, throw her and her friends out. But I didn't. Something held me back, instinct. Maybe. A voice in my head saying, wait, don't tip your hand. I slipped off the couch, pretending I'd just been asleep. Rachel smiled at me, innocent, bright. Hey babe, feeling okay? Tired, I mumbled and went to bed. She crawled in an hour later, tried to cuddle. I turned away. The next day, I made breakfast like nothing had happened. Toast, eggs, fruit. She talked about napkin colors and champagne options while I nodded along, my mind racing. Monday, I called in sick. I'd worked there 6 years and never once missed a day without a reason. But I needed time. Time to dig. Time to confirm what I'd just heard. Time to figure out how deep this betrayal went. Rachel had left her laptop out. I knew her password, her first dog's name. She was never one for complex security. What I found made my blood run cold. There was a second email account, one I'd never seen attached to it, a completely different Facebook profile with a fake last name. On that account were photos of her and another guy. Some shirtless beach photos, dinner dates a weekend away at a spa resort. She told me she couldn't afford because of family stuff. It got worse. Private messages to someone named Marcus. He called her his girl. She called him my next chapter. There were screenshots of my bank balances clearly taken from my phone or laptop when I wasn't looking. She had everything: credit limits, passwords, even a photo of my birth certificate. There was a Google Doc titled After the Wedding. It was part checklist, part breakup plan. She mapped it all out. Moved timeline accounts to drain how to spin the breakup to her friends and family. So she came out looking like the victim. I sat there for a long time, staring at the screen, feeling like someone had driven a spike through my chest. But I didn't yell. I didn't smash anything. I documented everything. I used my phone to take photos of the files, uploaded them to a secure cloud account I set up that morning. I copied emails, took screenshots, transferred PDFs. Then I logged out, wiped my fingerprints off her laptop, and left it exactly where it was. That night, she brought me Starbucks. "You're feeling better?" she asked. "Yeah," I lied. She kissed my cheek, handed me a cappuccino. I drank it, smiled, told her the next few days were going to be busy with work. Then I got to work. I called my best friend, David. It took me a full minute to speak when he picked up. He thought someone had died. AITA. In a way, someone had. I told him everything. He listened in silence, then said, "You're not going through with it. Right, the wedding." "I'm not walking away quietly," I said. "I want her to feel it." He didn't argue. That night, I started laying the trap. I printed a fake investment statement showing triple my actual net worth, left it half-folded near the printer. Next day, Rachel brought up joint accounts again. "We should just merge everything," she said. "It'll be easier long-term." "Yeah," I said, "good idea." Every time she leaned in, I leaned back just enough. Not enough to tip her off, just enough to keep control. I found a new apartment across town. Small, basic, clean. Signed the lease under my middle name. Rachel never noticed. I moved key documents, passport, SSN title to a safe at David's place. Opened a solo bank account, left just enough in our shared account to look normal. Then I sold the ring. Kept a near-identical cubic zirconia look-alike in its place. She never noticed that either. And the most painful part, she started being sweet again, waking up early to make coffee, holding my hand while watching Netflix, sending midday texts. "I miss you. Can't wait to start our life." It was all an act. I knew it. I had the evidence. Still, it got under my skin. Part of me wanted to believe she meant even one word of it. But I didn't let it show. I just smiled and waited. I woke up the next morning to Rachel humming in the kitchen. She made pancakes, my favorite, even lit a candle for no reason, said we should go see a house that weekend. She was pouring it on thick. "I just want to start our life," she said, smiling. I smiled back. I'd like that. But inside, I was miles away. I wasn't planning a future with her. I was finishing my exit. The following week, I ramped up my act, played the part perfectly. More fake documents, left a loan approval letter sticking out of my briefcase. She noticed it was gone when I got home from work, then magically reappeared the next day in a different spot. She didn't say a word. But that night, she made my favorite dinner, even opened a bottle of wine. That's when I knew she'd taken the bait. She thought she was getting close to the finish line. I made sure she stayed comfortable. I checked the tracking on her second phone, one she kept hidden in the kitchen drawer under old menus. I'd installed a monitoring app weeks ago. Nothing illegal, just software designed for parents. Turns out it works for unfaithful fiancés too. She was still messaging Marcus, still talking about the countdown, still planning to be gone within a month of locking things down. She didn't know the countdown was mine, not hers. She started acting more affectionate, more interested in my day, my work, my schedule. It wasn't love, it was calculation. She wanted to know when the direct deposits hit. I gave her nothing. Smiled, kissed her forehead, said things like, "I can't believe how lucky I am." The irony wasn't lost on me. One night, she left her iPad unlocked on the kitchen counter. I wasn't looking for anything new, but there it was. 3 dating app profiles, all created within the last few weeks. Different usernames, different photos, but the same bio. Not into drama, looking for a successful man who knows what he wants. She listed herself as single. On one profile, she used a picture from our engagement shoot, just her cropped. I took screenshots, uploaded them to my backup folder. Then I wiped my prints and walked away. I wasn't even angry anymore, just tired. I scheduled a meeting with the bank, opened a new account under my middle and maternal surnames. Quiet, private moved. Most of my savings there in pieces, small transfers over a couple weeks, just enough left in the joint account to keep her from noticing. I made sure all my automatic payments were disconnected from that shared account. Then I made arrangements with the venue. The venue manager was polite but cautious. "I just want to understand the cancellation policy," I told her. "Nothing confirmed, just in case." She gave me the breakdown. I didn't cancel. I just asked questions. Then I called my landlord and arranged an early exit from the lease. Paid the fee, didn't blink. Rachel wouldn't know until the keys were handed in. 10 days before the wedding, I moved what mattered into my new place. Just the essentials: clothes, tech, documents, a few mementos that still meant something. I didn't touch her things, let her have it all. I didn't need revenge through stuff. I wanted something cleaner. She still talked about the wedding every day. "Do you think we should upgrade to gold foil menus?" she asked one night, like we were planning a royal gala. "I trust you," I said. Inside, I was counting down the days. Her parents flew in that weekend. Dinner was awkward. Her mom talked more about money than marriage. Kept saying how good it was that Rachel had found someone responsible. Her dad, he just said, "Take care of our girl. That's what men do." I smiled and nodded. Didn't say much. But it all made sense. Now, Rachel didn't invent this mindset. She inherited it. That night, I lay in the guest room, part of some weird pre-wedding tradition. I stared at the ceiling fan, counting slow rotations. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't unsure. I was done. The next day, I sold the ring. The original one, anyway. She never knew I swapped it out weeks earlier with a perfect replica made of cubic zirconia. Looked identical, weighed the same. She showed it off to friends, posted it on Instagram with her "no forever." The real one paid for my deposit, my moving truck, and 6 months of rent. The night before the wedding was the rehearsal dinner. We smiled for pictures, clinked glasses, took toasts. She was glowing. Her friends beamed. Her mom teared up. And me? I was ice, just holding steady, knowing tomorrow everything would fall. That night, I wrote the message, the one I'd sent her just before the ceremony. It wasn't long, just the truth. Calm, factual, no insults, no pleading, just closure. I attached screenshots, texts, dating app profiles, the conversations she thought I didn't hear. Everything. Then I saved it in drafts and went to bed. Didn't sleep. Didn't need to. I woke up before the sun. The world was still, like it was waiting. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and watched light creep across the counter. My phone sat in front of me. Screen dark message still in drafts. Today was supposed to be our wedding day. Instead, it was the day I left the mask behind. At 9:00 a.m., I hit send. "Rachel, I know everything. I heard what you said that night. I saw the profiles, the emails, the plan I've known for weeks. The wedding is off. I've moved out. Don't try to find me. The venue knows. Your things will stay in the apartment until the end of the month. The ring." It wasn't real. Guess neither were you, Mason. Simple. No room for debate. No anger. Just the truth. Attached were the receipts. The text to her friend about draining my money. The spreadsheet outlining her exit plan. Her dating profile with single listed next to her engagement ring photo. The screenshots. The timeline. The voice recording. I sent it all. Then I turned off my phone, stood up and walked out of that apartment for the last time. David was waiting in the car. He didn't say much, just nodded when I climbed in. We drove back to his place. Quiet roads, clear sky. That kind of silence isn't empty. It's peaceful. It's what it sounds like after you stop pretending. I checked my phone after an hour. She had called 15 times. Left 8 voicemails, sent nearly 30 messages. The first ones were confused. "What's going on? This isn't funny." Then angry. "You had no right to go through my stuff. You violated my privacy." Then desperate. "Please, we can talk. It was just stress. I love you." By noon, her mom was calling. Then her best friend, then her sister. All unknown numbers, all ignored. At 12:30, David looked out the window and muttered, "She's here." She pulled up fast, still in pajamas. Hair tied back, no makeup. Her eyes were wild. She knocked, no pounded on the front door. David looked at me. I nodded once. He opened the door. Rachel stormed in, saw me standing in the living room, and froze, not because I looked different, but because I didn't look hurt. She opened her mouth. I raised my hand, pulled out my phone, and hit play. Her own voice filled the room. "Once I get his money, I'm gone in a month. He's boring now. There are better options." Silence. She sat down hard on the couch. Her face went pale. Then came the excuses. "That was a joke. I was drunk. We were just messing around." I said nothing. "Those dating profiles." "Old, I forgot they were even active." "Still nothing." "I didn't mean to hurt you. That's the one that almost got me." Almost. But I'd heard it all before from other people. In other ways. Words are cheap when they come too late. She started crying. The kind of sobs meant to draw sympathy. I didn't feel cold, I just felt finished. I said one thing. There are 150 people expecting a wedding today. You should start making calls. Her face twisted. You're seriously going to do this to me? Embarrass me in front of everyone? I shook my head. You did that to yourself. She stood pacing now, accused me of being cruel, of being dramatic, of overreacting. Then finally, you'll never find someone like me again. I smiled for the first time all day. That's the idea. David walked her out. She didn't fight it, just left. No parting words. No dramatic goodbye. Just silence again. That night, I sat on David's couch. Hoodie on box of pizza between us. No vows, no first dance, no fake forever. Just me finally alone in the right way. She posted a few things on social media. Some vague quotes about betrayal, heartbreak, being blindsided. People commented with sympathy. Others reached out to ask what happened. I didn't reply. I didn't explain. People who matter already knew, people who didn't never will. The next day I moved into my new place. Unfurnished, quiet, still smelled like fresh paint. I bought a folding chair, a mattress, and a lamp. That was enough for now. For the first time in months, I slept all the way through the night. She still tried to reach me. From new numbers, fake profiles. Just talk to me, let me explain. I made a mistake. I blocked them all. Then one message from her friend Sarah. I had no idea. If you ever want to talk. I deleted it. Not out of spite, just clarity. Some people show up only after the damage is done. I wasn't interested in apologies wrapped in guilt. A week later, I got an email from the venue. Subject: formal cancellation confirmed. I closed it and exhaled. Funny thing is, I'm not bitter, not even mad anymore. I'm grateful. Grateful I heard the truth before I signed my name to hers. Grateful I didn't let love blind me to patterns I've seen before. Grateful I trusted my gut even when it hurt. People keep asking what happened. I just say life reminded me to listen more carefully. Some lessons come loud, others like this one come in whispers from a kitchen 15 feet away. I'm not looking for another relationship anytime soon. I'm just building something steady, quiet mine. The money I saved from the ring. It's now a savings account labeled Restart Fund. No drama, no debt. No gold-digging fiancé attached. Just clean air and quiet mornings. And maybe someday, something real.